record on this computer. So. Good to go?
Yeah. Hey, Dave.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
So, as our friends know here, we're the two Beatles collectors.
Yeah.
I have the My Beatles Collection Facebook page, and Dave.
I have a North Texas t-shirt on. Sorry. I didn't have anything Beatle-y to wear. But I'm the admin of My Beatle page on Facebook. So but if you go mean green, that's
there you go.
Something like that. Anyway, so tonight's topic is like we talked about in our little quick promo. It's this. So
Yeah.
we're gonna try to spend the next 30-40 minutes at the most, and we're gonna talk about this album right here, and we're gonna talk about the authentic original copies, and we'll maybe look into doing another episode later on some of the counterfeits, bootlegs, fakes, whatever you want to call them. So anyway, so where do we want to start? A little history?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the expert.
Well, I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm gonna preface all this by saying, thank the Lord for the internet, because boy, it's all at your fingertips if you know where to go. Frank Daniels, Perry Cox, Bruce Spicer were three places that I spent a lot of time researching this stuff. If you haven't seen Frank Daniels' website, Frank's Meager Beatle page, Google it. You'll be amazed. It's not just Beatle stuff. The guy has got tons of stuff everywhere. But anyway, Wikipedia, Discogs, a bunch of places. I used, there's a ton of info out there. So I'm going to preface this also by making a claim that what I'm saying is not 100% confirmed. So if you see or hear something that you think that's not quite right, drop us a line, let us know, comment on our Facebook page, because I may get something wrong here. I may just be reading this wrong. I may state it wrong, but just want to say this is what we found and we're going to run with it. So here we go. Just as you know, Please Please Me was the first Beatles single. It was sent over to the US. Transglobal was a marketing company that would bring the masters over to the US. And Capitol said, not interested. First right of refusal, they exercised that option. So Transglobal went to Vee-Jay. And they took it, released it. Please Please Me was released on catalog number 498. If you got it, good. Anyway, didn't do anything. And then around December of 63, Capitol released I Want to Hold Your Hand. And suddenly this record starts climbing the charts. And the Vee-Jay people who had earlier 63 decided they were going to put together an album from the Please Please Me album. They were going to take some songs from that, put it together and release it as an album. That got scrapped because of their financial situation. But by December 63, they realized they had something in the vault as this Capitol record was going up the charts. So suddenly it was one of those things that we're not sure if we have the rights to this, because by December of 63, Transglobal had already notified Vee-Jay that the contract that they had signed was null and void. And just think about it. Had Vee-Jay not gone into a bankruptcy situation, they could have, instead of having to gather all their funds to save the company, they could have been paying royalties on the Please Please Me single and the From Me to You single to the Beatles through Transglobal and to the Four Seasons and these Frank Ifield, the other artists. Had they done that, they could have kept that contract with Transglobal.
Was that what the breach was, that they weren't getting paid?
They weren't getting paid. That was it, because the president, and I got his name over here and I can't think of it offhand, but Ewart Abner, he had gotten in some gambling debts and he was using company funds to pay those off. So yeah, had they not had that issue, just imagine for 5 years, the Beatles would have been on Vee-Jay. Can you imagine Revolver, Sgt. Pepper on the Vee-Jay label? I mean, it would have been possible, but they sort of screwed up. So anyway, they decided to go ahead and take a chance. They said, we've got these songs, and so they released this thing. And I'm going to show you my version 1 copy, and I hope it'll come through right here. I'm trying to find the camera. Sorry, folks.
Yeah,
there's my Love Me Do. And then on this side, you got P.S. I Love You. So anyway,
Yep. Here's mine. Here's mine, by the way. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. This album was manufactured for less than 2 weeks because I think it was January the 6th in 64. Capitol found out about this, and Beechwood Music, BMI, also found out about it, and they notified Vee-Jay that P.S. I Love You and Love Me Do have not been approved for release in the US. So those 2 songs need to go. And so that's why this version 1 album was scrapped, because Vee-Jay went, okay, fine, we'll take those off. We'll replace them with Please Please Me and Ask Me Why.
Just as a quick aside, and Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You wound up on Collie, right?
Yeah, eventually, yeah. That was, and that was a
month or two later, yeah.
Yeah, that was that Vee-Jay subsidiary. So, you know, but I was doing some research looking at that. The stereo version 1 copy, there was about 2,000 they estimate were actually made. So just imagine if you got a version 1 stereo now, you're on a gold mine. So anyway, to promote us too. Yeah. So to promote the new, and I don't know why they included Please Please Me, but not Ask Me Why, but they came out with this one, which they put a sticker on it, as you can see, and then came out.
That's an awesome copy you got there, by the way, with the price sticker and the hype sticker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you pointed it out to me when we were at the shop that day.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I may have walked by it had you not gone, hey, that's a nice one with a hype sticker. Now, oh, okay. So
if I was as wealthy as you, I would have bought it before I showed it to you.
Yeah. Let's look behind.
I would have showed it to you out in the hallway after I bought it.
Yeah, look in my bag. Look what I got. Right. Yeah. So anyway, this album was released early 64. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I actually have one here and I found it. After the changeover, I've got one from Southern Plastics. It's a pressing, and in here in the dead wax is 2/6/64, which I think is probably the actual date this record was pressed.
So that's a version 2 got there.
That's a version 2. Yeah, it's a version 2 mono, you know.
Yep.
And you can look in the dead wax for different things, and you can also you can look at, like, for example, I can show you right here. This is a Monarch, and you can see set that right there. I got some. You can see the pressing ring is actually pretty large, and so there's different variations there. But I was doing some looking, and I can't find all the info I was looking for. Monarch Manufacturing, which is Monarch Records, American Record Pressing, which is ARP, Southern Plastics, Allentown Record, National Record Corporation, Columbia actually made some, and a little company called Silver Plastics even made some of these records. So
just for comparison, this is my version 2. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera straight. So this has the Please Please Me with the comma in it. And it also, this is a Monarch pressing as well. So is this identical to what you have? The stereo is all caps and it's at 3 o'clock.
Well, no, mine's not stereo. I don't have any stereo copies.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, mine's. Again, I don't. Speaking of, I don't have that kind of money. If I was as rich as you, I'd have a stereo copy, even if it is a version 2. But
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah. So anyway, I was going to say version 2, about 80,000 copies were made. No, I'm sorry, version 1, there was 80,000 copies made. 2,000 of those estimated to be stereo.
Yeah, the rest were.
Yeah. So after it was, we go to Please Please Me and Ask Me Why, we end up with a version 2 that runs through all the legal battles, and we know that Capitol was constantly sending cease and desist orders to Vee-Jay, and BMI had sort of stepped back because the P.S. I Love You, Love Me Do issue was resolved. But so this is why you ended up with so many companies that were making this album, because Capitol would send a cease and desist order. Vee-Jay would have to shut down, file something in court, and get that injunction just sort of pushed aside for a moment. And then they would run over to another company and go, what can you do with this? And they said, oh, we can get up and running in a week. And they'd go, great. They'd print for 3 weeks maybe, and then Capitol would come along with another injunction, and they'd have to cease and desist. And then that company was like, well, we're not dealing with you. You know, you can't pay us, and you're having a hard time with your legal issues. So that's why I found that they use so many different companies, because every time Capitol came along and said, we got a problem, you need to shut down, Vee-Jay went, okay, and they'd shut down. But while they're shutting down, they're over there cutting deals with some other record companies. Like, we got to make some money, because they were trying to pay off their debt. And, you know, eventually, I mean, they finally couldn't do it. But I was showing Charlie earlier, and I'll show everybody. This is a copy, and it is just a copy, but it's a copy of a Western Union telegram that I have. That basically it's from Vee-Jay to Capitol Records, saying that Vee-Jay has commenced legal proceedings to require Capitol to cease and desist from further interference and infringements on Vee-Jay's rights. We hereby notify you that all manufacture and sale of Beatle recordings in the Capitol label is a violation of Vee-Jay's rights, and liability will be extended to the persons conducting such manufacturing and sales. So anyway, it is a copy, but I still think it's a nice little item to have.
Yeah, so, not something most of us have heard about. We all know the Capitol sent cease and desist orders to Vee-Jay several times, but I had never known that they went the other direction as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Vee-Jay's fighting for their lives. You know, they're about to go under, and they've finally realized that, you know, nobody, of course, knew how long it would last, but we got something that's going to sell now, and we need money now. So,
I have a question. Maybe, you know, I don't know if you know. So you mentioned before that they had to take Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You off of the Introducing album.
Right.
But how did they wind up having the rights through Tolly to make a single out of it? Because you mentioned Tolly was actually a subsidiary of Vee-Jay. If they lost their ability to keep it on the album, how did they keep the ability to put it on a 45 under another label?
It would be under another label. It's not under Vee-Jay, it's under Tolly. And it's, you know, the subsidiaries can cut their own deals. You know, maybe somebody from Tolly or with BMI didn't realize that that's a subsidiary, but they actually made, they refused to issue a license to Vee-Jay for them to release that.
Okay. So, all right. Well, that makes sense now.
And I'm only speculating on that one, you know, but that's my best guess on it.
And, you know, Love Me Do may have been the biggest selling non-Capitol single. I'm not sure about that, but Love Me Do sold very well on the U.S. charts anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It was all news to the rest of the world, but it was new to, you know, us here in the U.S. And it sold well. Of course, Twist and Shout sold well, and, you know, that wasn't on Capitol either here. Please Please Me sold fairly well twice.
Yeah. Well, the first one actually didn't. You know, the 498 version didn't, but the 581, yeah, they were hot then.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah.
I wanted to mention just one thing. I have this Perry Cox thing. This is a certificate of authenticity for a version 2, but it's in excellent condition. And Perry not only authenticates it, but appraised it. I was telling you, Dave, before, based on his own book, that's now how many years old? 17 years old.
17 years old now.
He's saying that the value range in this condition was $850 to $950. So I was quite happy to read that. You can probably see that all the way down the bottom there. Yeah. And here's the pictures of the album and the whole deal. And I guess that's where I got the sleeve with the advertisements on it, because there it is in the picture. Yeah, I actually have that album framed, so it's not here easily accessible, but I put that up and framed it because I had the COA. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Yeah. Just briefly then, I'm just going to grab something here and read a few things. The battle through the courts was early '64. Injunctions went back and forth because the album was often pressed so quickly between restraining orders. there's almost 24 different label variations. And that includes mono and stereo. But on the 9th of April, 64, the labels both settled. Vee-Jay was granted a license, giving it the right to issue the 16 songs that it controlled in any way it saw fit up until October 15 of 64. And at that time, the license expired and all rights would revert to Capitol. So the problem that Vee-Jay had then was they had a nice album that it unfortunately just made it to #2 because Meet the Beatles sort of kept them off the top of the charts. But you have a nice album, and how are you going to continue to sell something that's sort of run its course? Because even Capitol had moved on by April and then released the Beatles' second album, and we have A Hard Day's Night coming soon after that. Something new will be following, and before Christmas you have Beatles 65. Sorry, that was Athena if you heard her. But anyway, so Vee-Jay turns around and says, how do you do this? What can we do? So, well, if we repackage a new album, maybe we can sell it, But the funny thing is, you go to the store and you see this. Now it does have the songs listed here, but it talks about look inside for their favorite male and female singers, their favorite foods, types of girls, sport, hobby, songs, colors, real name, birthplace, birthdays, height, education, color of hair and eyes, all that good stuff that you can get, And so you end up with songs, pictures, and stories, which is a two-thirds gatefold. So
and no and no song titles on the front or back, right?
No, there's some song titles right here.
Oh, are there a few there? Okay.
Yeah, there are some right there, but and the funny thing is that you look at it, okay, it's got a list of each person.
Oh, you're right.
Got a little information. Here's side 1, side 2 here listed. And then on the back, you can post your picture next to the Beatle that you love, whatever.
Right.
But the thing is that, if you, I don't know, say grandma buys you an album, oh, I don't think you have this. And then you open it up and you look at it and guess what? Version 2, introducing, oh, thanks, grandma. I already got that,
Yeah.
So,
Some of those had a venue
there you
sticker
go.
on.
Yeah.
This one happens to be from Cleveland. I don't know if you can see that. So that actually, if you're a collector, that adds value.
That adds a lot of value to it. Yeah.
Of course, I mentioned to you, Dave, previously, I have a legitimate cover with the venue sticker, but I have a bootleg record in there. So I don't know, over the years, somebody mixed up their records and sold it, or sold it intentionally to me.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I wasn't smart enough at the time.
We were talking about that. Yeah, we were talking about that. And for anybody who's collecting, this is the book that started all the Spicer stuff. This is his book that, tells everything about label variations and all. But we did find your hype sticker for the venue in Cleveland in here, so we can confirm that, that's accurate. So yeah, somewhere somebody swapped albums on you. So sorry about that. But hey,
what happens? I mean, a lot of people keep their records outside of the jackets. I even keep them in a separate place. Like with me on my 45s and my picture sleeves, you have yours on the wall over your left shoulder there.
Right.
I always separate them, so I'm not even sure I could match a single with a picture sleeve anymore.
Yeah,
because they're stored in 2 different places. So maybe somebody did that with a legitimate album, or maybe they intentionally did it to keep a real one and to sell a fake one. But the cover is worth more than the record.
Exactly. That's just it. If that's what they did, they sold the wrong one.
Right.
Should have kept the cover. But there's also think about it. And my sisters did this a lot. Back in the 60s, people started moving around a lot more and traveling a lot more. And we traveled. My dad worked in the oil industry, so we traveled a lot. Sort of like, Army brats, as they say. 1 year here, 1 year there. And you move to Kansas or, wherever, and you go spend the night, have a slumber party like my sisters used to do, and they take all their records. Well, you get all these things out and you start playing them, and then everybody's putting records back up the next day and then going home. Well, who knows? You may have walked in there with a West Coast and come home with an East Coast in your jacket. You don't know. So those kind of things can get mixed up that way too. So, But like you
Yep.
said, you know, like this one right here, I keep mine in sleeves, but I keep my albums separate, and I keep them in a rice paper. And but then again, and look what I did find. I have one too.
Hey, good for you.
I didn't think I had one with it. But anyway, that's a version 2. But the key to that is, yeah, I'm going to keep that record out of the sleeve just to prevent the ring wear. That's the key for me, because
Right. Exactly.
we've seen that so many times.
Yep.
So anyway, so while I'm putting this back, Vee-Jay decides, all right, songs, pictures, and stories. I think I read something where it went to, oh gosh, what did it do? Oh, it peaked at number 63 on the charts, which I guess probably isn't bad for an album that had already gone out and under another title. But anyway, so Vee-Jay had one last hurrah. So they took, I think it's called the Golden Hits of the Four Seasons, and they paired it with Introducing the Beatles. So you end up with this. And it's nice. You know, it's a nice album. Oh, that's the prize right there. Thought I had it in there, but anyway, let's see. Here we go, that way. And then you got your scorecard on the back, which everybody has seen. This one obviously has not been tallied up, but we all know who the winner is. So
that was a great Four Seasons album too. If you like the Four Seasons,
yeah, it's the golden hits. It's the golden hits of the Four Seasons. It really is a good album. And it was a Vee-Jay, so you know that was easy for them. Problem was that they weren't getting paid either. So you know,
yeah.
But, this is a version 2 Monarch pressing, and the cool thing though that really for me is that Vee-Jay did one thing I thought was really sweet, and that's that they included this, which is right there.
That's the prize.
So, that's the prize. Yeah, this thing I've seen it go 400 or 500 just for the poster. Yeah. And this was released, let's see, I saw something about this. It was reduced as a gatefold in October of 64. So this came out right before the deadline when Vee-Jay had to cease and desist for good. So
interestingly enough, I have the poster. I do not have the record, and I never did have the record. So I don't know how I got the poster, but I do have the poster.
I was just going to ask, how did you get the poster without, if you don't have the record?
You know, from time to time, I run into people who are just unloading everything in their garage or everything in their basement. They don't know what they have. They don't care what they have. Hey, can you give me $100 for the whole room? You know, so that's happened.
Through it and you find a poster.
Yeah, you know, I find myself thumbing through cardboard box after cardboard box.
Yeah.
And half of it smells like their garage, of course. But every once in a while, you find something good. And in that case, I'm not sure that I knew I found something good. It would just have the Beatles on it, you know. I have a couple of Dell posters that I got the same way. We could talk about Dell posters on another video, but you know, that's another situation where, you know, they're pretty hard to find in good condition. They're worth a lot of money, and you don't necessarily have any records associated with it. You just have the poster.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I wish I had the record, but you got there first.
Well,
Beatles versus Four Seasons, right?
Yeah. Actually, I got lucky with this one because there was a lady in the small town that I lived. I lived outside of Lubbock years ago. And there's this lady who went to an estate sale, and she bought a bunch of stuff. She bought a Frank Ifield, not a portrait, but just a regular Frank Ifield. She got this and some Vee-Jay 45s and a few other little knickknacks and stuff. And she posted it all on Facebook. On eBay, sorry. And so I was looking at it, and I sent her a message, and I looked at the town, and I thought, well, you live in the same small town that I live in, you know, outside of Lubbock. And so I wrote her and I said, you know, can I come by and look at this? And she said, sure. So I went over to the house and started talking to her. And I said, you know, all of these items you have listed individually on individual auctions. What would you take for the lot? And she quoted a price, and we haggled for a bit. And I said, okay, well, tell you what, I'll give you cash right now. You can go close those auctions out, list them as sold, transactions done. I'll go home and, you know, I'll send you some feedback. And I walked home with everything. So, you know,
Nice.
that's how I got those, you know, that goes back to the olden days, you know, do I eat or do I buy this? Now that I bought those. So, you know.
If my adult children see this video, which I'm sure they will, they'll remember us going to a garage sale at, you know, in somebody's driveway back in probably the mid to late 80s.
Right.
Pre-eBay, pre-Facebook, pre-internet, pre-everything, you know.
Right.
And
yeah.
I saw this little red record case with 45s in it. And it was one Beatles and Rolling Stones picture sleeve after another. I mean, I probably 10 Stones and, you know, probably, I don't know, 5 or 10 Beatles, all
right.
beautiful. So it was all cash, you know, nobody took a credit card in their driveway in those days.
Right.
I think I had $5 in my pocket, 5 singles, 5 ones. And I said, how much do you want for these? And they said, well, they're $1 a piece or something like that. And I said, I want all of them, but, you know, I only got $5. They said, all right, take it, take the case and all. I got the record case and all the records. Now I sold all of the Rolling Stones picture sleeves at a convention, you know, a record convention in North Carolina. I got, I don't know, a couple $100 for the Rolling Stones one, and the Beatles ones. They're up here somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were nice. I mean, of course I took the records out of them immediately and put them in plastic sleeves and all that. So they're all, you know, look like the day. But anyway, those things happen in those days.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, you know, speaking of, we had gone down to a family reunion in South Texas one time, and my ex-wife and sister and all of them had gone antiques shopping, and they came back to the resort where we were staying, and she said, oh, you need to go to this one store. This lady's got some stuff. So they took me back to that store, and I'm looking around. There was some car mascot bobbleheads, a couple of Remco dolls, a little junior guitar, all sorts of stuff. And I asked the lady, I said, well, what is all this? She said, a woman came in, her daughter was a big Beatles fan when she was a kid. She bought all of this stuff. There's a scrapbook that she had made and everything. And the daughter has passed away. And I thought, okay, well, that's, you know, sorry to hear about that. But, you know, what do you want for this item? And she said, well, she just brought them and set them up the other day. I haven't agreed on a price for everything. We discussed a number, but we haven't set anything in stone. I can't sell any individual piece until we can agree on, you know, a price. I said, well, what's the price that y'all agreed on? And she told me, and I said, done. And I bought the entire collection. And my sister was like, good Lord, you know, this is why we can't take him anywhere. It's like this, you know, they thought maybe I could get 1 or 2 items. No, I came home with boxes full of stuff, you know, so it happens.
And now it's why I can't go anywhere with you, because you're gonna take your wallet out and beat me.
Well, no, I don't know why you didn't. I don't know. I was looking for a few things. I had a wish list, and they were hanging on the wall. You pointed one out. You know, it was that Vee-Jay with a hype sticker. So, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
how we doing? How we doing on time, Dave? I know we wanted to.
Yeah, we were looking 30 to 40 at the most. We're at 28 and a half right now. And I mean, it's just a brief run through. I think we've covered the history. You know, I mean, the label variations that we can get into are the blacks, the brackets, the, you know, rainbow brackets, the ovals. I mean, with 20,
please, comma and no comma.
No comma. Yeah. Monarch, American Records, Southern Plastic Pressings. I mean, we can just go down this rabbit hole for days. And that's why I was thinking, you know, if we do this, let's do a brief video and just do a quick, you know, there it is for the original legit copies. And then maybe we can come back and we can discuss the fakes later, you know.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of interest in how to identify one. Do I have a fake one? Do I have a real one? How can I tell? You know, I think there's a lot of interest in that. Of course, there's a lot of experts out there about that too. But you know, we have some expertise there that, you know, we can share with our followers. So
yeah, there's all sorts of little tips and tricks to look for. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of variations there. As we've said before, probably a lot more fakes were sold than legitimate ones.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Through the research I was doing for looking at this. Yeah. It's
I
unbelievable.
mentioned, I mentioned in the last video, the first copy I had, I bought probably in 1970 or later in a
Yeah.
department store, legitimate department store, had a record department. I introduced the Beatles. Oh, gee, I always wanted that. And I bought it, and now I know what I didn't know then.
Right.
It's so obviously a fake. You know, the label is clear. It's got the Beatles, you know, below the hole and all that stuff.
Right.
We'll get into
Yeah.
that the next video, but that was my first copy, and I had wound up with more than one of those over the years before I figured out what I was doing wrong. Now I have 5 or 6 legit ones and 2 or 3, you know, fakes.
Well, the cool thing about the fakes is that, you know, there's so many variations of them too, that once you realize what you've got out there, it's sort of like, well, they're sort of fun to collect. You know, I've got several different types that, you know, we can go through, but I did the same thing. My very first copy, and I've still got it over there. It's a bootleg or it's a fake, whatever. I'm not gonna say bootleg.
Yeah, you'll have the bootleg police come after you if you're using the wrong word.
So, but yeah, we're going to call them a fake. So
all right, so we'll do you know, we'll do that video. We'll probably be around the same length, but we'll get into some of the variations on the fake side.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. And we can go over different things that we've seen, because not only is it introducing, it's also songs, pictures, stories that became songs and pictures, I believe is what they called it. You know,
right. Those are very readily available now. They're on eBay all the time, and of course they are not legitimate releases at all. They didn't even bother to put all the words in the title. I mean, you know, they left out story, just songs and pictures.
You're right. Yeah. And then if we want to get into that, you've also got like Hear the Beatles Tell All. You know, there's also a 79 version, which a lot of people will call it a fake, but it's actually not. It was from Vee-Jay International after the company had finally regrouped. And there's also a picture disc that came out of that. We can, you know, deal with that too.
It's a shaped one, actually, right?
It's shaped, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I do not have that one, but I have the regular Erica, but not the shaped one.
Okay, well then we'll show mine.
Do you have the Frank Ifield, either of the Frank Ifield variants?
I have a mono copy of the Jolly Watt.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, another Vee-Jay, obviously. Now that only has a couple of the songs. That doesn't have the whole Introducing the Beatles album. That's just a couple of songs, right?
Quickly.
Yeah, well, as you said, they used the songs as many ways as they can, and they re-released the single several times, and you know, whatever they could do to keep selling the same product.
Yeah.
That only has what, three or four songs that are Beatles on it.
Let's see. Has Ask Me Why, Thank You Girl, Please Please Me, From Me to You.
Yeah, so just the 4 songs.
And mine, well, there it is. Mine's on an oval label.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the Jolly What's the only one I got. Mine's mono.
Yeah.
And, this is part of the.
Of course, the super rare one is the portrait cover.
Yeah. There was one at the fest in February.
I have one. I actually have one. I have
okay. Let's see. I looked at that one up there at the fest at the Rockaway store, and I was like, ooh, you know, can I buy that one, or do I buy several of these? So I want to.
Or do I pay my mortgage this month?
Thank God the plane ticket was already paid for. I wouldn't have made it home.
You wouldn't have got home, yeah.
Yeah, I had just found a way up to your place up there, so you know I'd have been okay. But anyway,
well, I wouldn't let you in here because I wouldn't have to keep my eye on you all the time. You might go out fatter than you came in. I'm not sure. You know?
Oh, come on, you know you can trust me now, can't you?
Oh, I know. I know.
I mean, hell, I gave you that damn talcum powder can, you know.
No. Hey, I sent it to you. I sent it to your priority mail, bro.
That's true. Yeah, it got here like 2 days after I got home. So yeah, I mean that's one of those that somebody walks up and goes, "Hey, I'll mail that to you." I don't know, but yeah, but I mean, hey, we got a great relationship. We got a good friendship, so it's like, yeah, sure. You know, you saved me on that one, so thanks again. So
yeah, they might not have let you on the plane with a can of powder.
Yeah. That's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah. I'd have had a lot of people on me on that one. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's another one of those funny things. I walked out of there and I was showing you what I bought out of the store, because that's when we ran into each other at the fest. And that's right then, when I was showing it to you, and Terry looks over at me and she said, you're not going to be able to take that on the plane. Oh, I didn't even think of that. I was just,
funny footnote to that is I was flying out the next day. You flew out on Sunday. I was flying out on Monday. So
yeah.
I'm driving home with this tin of powder in my car, and I'm thinking, I'm flying out tomorrow. What's the difference? I have to go to the post office before I go to the airport. So I mailed it the next morning because I was flying out that afternoon. I would have had no problem.
You're probably sitting there thinking, why did I promise this guy?
Yeah, what the hell am I doing with this thing? Now I'm stuck with
it. Exactly right. Yeah. That's good. Anyway, it's safe. It's got a home. We're good. So anyway, let's see. We're pushing just around 35 minutes. So are we good?
I think we're done. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, that was a brief run through, So, anybody's got any questions, we can answer on our pages.
Yeah. So if you click on the link on our page to go to the YouTube channel, if you like it, please like it on YouTube, and if you want to comment, you can comment on YouTube.
Yeah.
And please subscribe if you're not a subscriber yet, and you'll be able to access all the videos. This is only the third in a series, so we're going to keep going as long as there's any level of interest, and we'll get into some specific topics like this. But there'll be a part 2 for this one, which will be the fake counterfeit side of introducing the Beatles.
Right.
There's a counterfeit toaster right there. That's a 24 by 24. Some printer blew it up to 24 by 24, and I bought it on eBay, and then I got it, and it looks like crap. But I thought I'd put it up there today just so you know what the topic is.
That's what the counterfeits all look like. Some of them are actually good, but most of them are crap. So it is what it is. So,
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good seeing you, Dave.
Always pleasure.
We'll see you folks next time around.
Yeah. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, everyone.
Peace out.
Bye.